My neighbor tried to kill it 17 times. He told me this over the fence last summer, sweat dripping down his face, herbicide sprayer in hand, staring at the green mat spreading across his driveway like it was personally mocking him. 17 times, he said again, and I could hear something breaking in his voice. I've poisoned it, pulled it, burned it with a torch. Last week I poured boiling water on it. This morning it's back, bigger than before. I didn't tell him what I knew. I didn't tell him he was trying to kill one of the oldest foods on Earth. I didn't tell him that people paid $8 a pound for that same plant at the farmer's market downtown, or that the supplements in his bathroom cabinet contained a synthetic version of what was growing free in the cracks at his feet. I definitely didn't tell him that his homeowners association had just threatened him with a $500 fine for harboring the very thing that might save his life someday. Instead, I watched him spray poison on food, and I thought, they've won. They've actually won. But let me back up, because this story doesn't start with my neighbor, and it doesn't start with herbicide. It starts with a lie so big, so successful, that it convinced 3 generations of Americans to wage chemical warfare on their own salvation. And the beautiful thing about lies this big is that when you finally see through them, you can't unsee it. The whole world shifts. So let me show you what I saw. 3 years ago, my grandmother had a stroke. Not a big one, but enough to scare us, enough that I moved in with her for a few months to help. She was 92, Greek immigrant, still sharp as hell, despite what the doctors said. One morning, I found her in the backyard with a bowl, picking something green from between the pavement stones. "Yaya, what are you doing?" I asked. She looked at me like I'd asked why the sky was blue. "Breakfast," she said, holding up a handful of what I'd always thought was just weeds. "Glistrida. You don't know glistrida?" I didn't. Born and raised in California, college educated, I could identify kale and arugula and microgreens, but I had no name for this plant growing in every sidewalk crack I'd ever seen. She shook her head, that look Mediterranean grandmothers give when they realize their grandchildren are idiots. "Sit," she commanded. "I tell you something." What she told me that morning, while blanching purslane in boiling water and dressing it with olive oil and lemon, changed everything. She told me about the village where she grew up before the war, before she came to America, how her mother would gather this plant every morning, how everyone did, how it was just food, like bread, like water. She told me about coming to California in 1952, finding it growing everywhere, being happy because at least this one thing from home had followed her here. But then something happened. Her neighbors started asking why she was picking weeds. The American women looked at her like she was poor, desperate, eating trash. Her own children, my father included, refused to eat it. "They want to be Americans," she said quietly. "Americans don't eat weeds." So she stopped. For 40 years, she stopped gathering glistrida, even though it grew all around her, even though she missed it. She learned to buy iceberg lettuce in plastic bags like everyone else. She forgot how to see food in wild places. "But then I remember something," she said, fixing me with those dark eyes. "1969, I'm young woman, my cousin still in Crete. She send me letter, very excited. American scientists, they come to island. They want to know why we don't die from heart attack like Americans. They test everything. And you know what they find?" She paused dramatically, the way she always did when she had a good story. "Glistrida, the weed. They say it's miracle. They say it has omega-3, more than fish. They put it in science paper. I read this and I think, all this time we know. We always know." She pushed the bowl toward me. "You try." It tasted like lemony spinach with a slight crunch, fresh and clean, and nothing like I expected. And as I ate, she watched me with this expression I couldn't read. Later I understood. It was the look of someone watching knowledge return from the dead. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that plant, about how I'd seen it my entire life without seeing it. So I did what any millennial does at 2 a.m. I went down a research rabbit hole, and that's when things got weird. The scientific papers weren't hard to find. The 1986 study from the University of Minnesota documenting that purslane contained the highest omega-3 fatty acids of any green plant ever tested. A 2014 University of Texas analysis ranking it as a powerhouse food, above kale, above spinach, above everything in the produce aisle. Studies on its antioxidant content, its vitamin E levels, its beta-carotene, paper after paper, all saying the same thing. This plant was nutritionally extraordinary. But here's what was weird. Nobody cared. The papers existed, the data was solid, but it was like screaming into a void. These studies should have been front-page news. Free superfood growing in every sidewalk crack should have been the headline of the century. Instead, silence. And when I looked closer, I started to understand why. I found a 1947 advertisement for Scott's herbicide, one of the first marketed to homeowners. The ad showed a happy suburban family with a perfect lawn, and below it, mugshots of public enemy number 1 through public enemy number 7. Enemy number 3 was Purslane. The copy read, "These criminals are invading your property. Fight back with Scott's." This was the same chemical company that had manufactured 2,4-D during World War II as a biological weapon to destroy enemy crops. When the war ended, they needed a new enemy, new battlefields. They chose American lawns. They chose to turn food into enemies. Then I found the Homeowners Association bylaws, thousands of them, all listing purslane as a noxious weed, subject to fines. I found the lawn care industry's annual revenue, $115 billion. The omega-3 supplement market, $4.1 billion. Vitamin E supplements, $1.8 billion. Packaged leafy greens, $12 billion annually. All of these markets selling solutions to nutritional deficiencies that purslane solved for free. And that's when I saw it clearly. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't ignorance. This was suppression. Deliberate, systematic, economically motivated suppression. They had taken a 4,000-year-old food source and erased it from American consciousness in a single generation. Not by making it disappear. You can't make it disappear. It's unkillable. But by making us forget what it was. The genius was in the simplicity. You don't need a conspiracy when you have aligned economic incentives. Lawn care companies profit from weeds being enemies. Supplement companies profit from people not knowing about free nutrition. Grocery stores profit from you believing that food only comes in packages. Nobody had to coordinate. They just had to do what was profitable. And what was profitable was making sure you never learned that the thing you were poisoning was food.
But here's what they didn't count on. Plants don't forget. Purslane has a survival strategy that borders on science fiction. It uses CAM photosynthesis, opening its pores at night to store carbon dioxide, then processing it during the day with pores closed. This means it survives on 2 inches of rain per year, less water than Death Valley receives. Every stem fragment that touches soil sprouts roots. Cut it into pieces, each becomes a new plant. One plant produces 240,000 seeds. Those seeds remain viable in soil for 40 years. Scientists have found it growing in Phoenix parking lot cracks, where ground temperatures exceed 160 degrees Fahrenheit. You can't kill it because it was designed by evolutionary forces to outlast everything, including us, including our industries, including our collective amnesia. And now, those evolutionary traits are becoming relevant in ways the lawn care industry never imagined. The American West is in a mega drought, the worst in 12 centuries. California's Central Valley is fallowing fields, no water. Lettuce needs consistent irrigation and cool temperatures. As climate change intensifies, conventional agriculture is failing. But purslane? Purslane doesn't care. It thrives in the heat, grows in degraded soil, needs nothing from us. University of Arizona researchers called it climate-resilient food for a warming world. Translation: when the grocery stores run empty, this plant will still be growing. My grandmother understood this instinctively. "You know what I think?" she said one afternoon, watching me harvest purslane from her garden. "I think God, or nature, or whatever you call it, I think it knows. It knows people forget things, so it makes some things impossible to forget, makes them grow everywhere, impossible to kill. Like maybe it knows we're going to need it again." She died 6 months later, but before she did, she made me promise something. "You teach people," she said. "You tell them the name, Purslane. Make them say it. Because once you have the name, you can see it, and once you can see it, you can't unsee it." So I started small. I taught my neighbor, the one who'd tried to kill it 17 times. I showed him what it looked like, told him what it was. 2 weeks later, I saw him eating it, just sitting on his porch with a bowl of purslane salad, looking stunned. "My HOA is threatening to fine me," he said. "I told them to go ahead. I'm not poisoning food anymore." Then his wife started teaching her book club. Someone in the book club taught their yoga class. The yoga instructor posted it on Instagram. 300,000 views. Comments pouring in. "My abuela used to eat this. This grows all over my yard. Wait, I've been paying how much for omega-3s?" It spread like purslane. Because here's the thing about suppressed knowledge. It wants to be free. It's under pressure, waiting for a crack to grow through, and once it starts growing, you can't stop it. Last summer, something shifted. Farmers markets in 7 states reported purslane selling out. Seed companies reported 300% increase in sales. Urban foraging classes had waiting lists, and the lawn care industry started running new ads, trying to pivot, trying to call purslane that trendy Mediterranean green while still selling herbicide to kill it. You could smell the desperation. But the real change is quieter. It's people learning to see differently, learning that the cracks in the concrete aren't failures of infrastructure, they're opportunities for food. Learning that wild doesn't mean worthless. Learning that maybe, just maybe, the things growing without permission are the things we need most. My grandmother was right. Some things are impossible to forget because they're impossible to kill. They wait in the cracks, in the margins, in the spaces we've forgotten to control. They wait for us to remember that independence tastes like lemon and earth, that salvation grows for free, that the answer to food security has been here all along, spreading, surviving, refusing to die. Purslane is illegal in millions of American yards. It's impossible to kill, and it's exactly what they don't want you to eat. But here's what I know now, what I wish I could tell my grandmother. They've already lost. The plant is still here. The knowledge is surfacing, and every person who learns the name becomes someone they can't control anymore. So learn the name, Purslane. Say it out loud. Teach it to your children. Harvest it. Eat it. Save seeds. And when your HOA threatens to fine you, when your neighbors ask why you're eating weeds, when the lawn care company looks at you like you're crazy, smile. Because you know something they spent billions of dollars trying to make you forget. You know that food doesn't ask permission. You know that freedom grows in cracks. You know that the most valuable things in life have always been free, impossible to kill, waiting for us to remember. The plant is still here. The question is, are you ready to see it?